Hi, this is Laurie Taylor, and I'm presenting on the Digital Library of the Caribbean, also known as DLOC. The digital library name is the Digital Library of the Caribbean. The URL is www.dloc.com. The mission, which you can find under About, and then it goes to under Overview, Additional Information. There's a full program website. But the mission is that the Digital Library of the Caribbean's diverse partners and members serve an international community of scholars, students, and peoples by working together to preserve and to provide enhanced electronic access to cultural, historical, legal, governmental, and research materials in a common web space with a multilingual interface. And you can see the multilingual interface here. The site explains the main patron site as well as the governance site explains that the main user communities are an international community of scholars, students, and peoples focused on materials from and about the Caribbean. The stakeholders include the partner institutions, which contribute content and to governance. And we'll pop over to the governance side just to show a little bit. With elected representatives serving on the executive board and associate partner institutions which contribute content, and scholars with the scholarly advisory board and the host institutions. So it's a huge collaborative undertaking, and so the governance site and more information on that is separate from the patron site for ease for the patrons. So for who operates the digital library, the University of Florida is the operations host and provides sustainable funding for base operations, which include the site, the chat support with Ask a Librarian, preservation, the archive, and ongoing additions from UF and from partners. Each of the partners contribute in kind to the digitization of materials, creation of metadata, transfer loading of materials, and outreach and support for the collections. Additionally, the Digital Library has many grants, most notably a $2 million grant from the Mellon Foundation in 2022. To interoperate and with other digital libraries, it's optimized for indexing with Google. Materials are also available via Harvest through OAI PMH and APIs. The content, as explained on the governance site, the content is dictated by partners. And so it has over 340,000 items with millions of pages and all types of materials, including newspapers and magazines, but also including photographs, video, audio, documents, and more. For what it will contain in 5 years, there's not a formal collection development policy reading all of the materials, including the $2 million grant proposal. The collection is really designed by the partners. And so it's what their priorities are. As the site explains, and as you can see if you work through the site, newspapers and serials are a primary area. The group that can add materials are the partners. So the site is organized. You can do a basic search from the homepage. And then the site is organized by items. Some of the items are also grouped in terms of title sets. So the Jamaica Journal is a serial publication. And if you go to it, then you have additional options for looking at all volumes, and you can flip through the different volumes in different ways. But in general, each item is a single item. You have the description information, you can download things, flipbook or images, depending on what the items are for view, searching within the item. And you can also see the statistics for the items. You can print and you can send. So this is not part of a physical library in the sense that it's many partners contributing materials. Some of them are digitized and some are born digital. So it does note on the description for where the holding institution or the contributing institutions, the source institutions are. The access policy is open access. The search options that were provided, which I've touched on briefly, there is you can search within the title sets to look specifically there. You can look through the different collections and partners for sort of focused curated collections. There is a map search. The documentation does note it's for items with coordinates. So not all items may have that information. You can limit by a date search, and this is the advanced search option. So there's a plain search, there's a text search that only searches for pages with the text, so not the metadata. And the advanced search, you can search for the basic search, different fields. You can also search within the particular text. You can add additional fields in the metadata, and you can search by date range. Again, really important for folks, especially when you're looking at multiple languages, multiple countries. In some countries, it may have changed names from the colonial period to now. Reference services, again, there is, the Ask a Chat option. And from the bottom, there are also options to get in touch. And so that goes to different contact people. And there's social media from the bottom. From the top, there's also options for contact us. Reading through the different sites that are linked with governance and documentation, the technology is explained as being at the University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida, which is the host institution, and that the system relies on the UF Data Center and support for central IT for commodity-style virtualized machines running using Linux, MySQL, APIs, Python, and Elasticsearch. So some of the assumptions here are that the site has to be mobile first. As if you work on the site, you'll see that it collapses and that different options are available. With everything is optimized to be sure that it works for mobile, and so the presentation is a bit different there. But you can search for anything. It is meant to be Google type friendly for people. So you search for a term and then you have many different items. You can narrow using different filters. Users really don't need to know much in order to start exploring the site. There are notes on the permissions on different items and their statements of responsibility, but there are not additional restrictions on use. As you can see here, the metadata is preserved in METS mods and provided and marked XML for use. So it's a really great site to be able to explore really fantastic materials. I showed Jamaica Journal a couple of times just because it's a really beautiful magazine. It's a journal of culture and arts, but overall the site is really fantastic, especially as you're working through with patrons with different language needs and preferences, and also working with different materials. It's easier to understand searching for Spanish materials when you're also using the search in Spanish. So that is my presentation on the Digital Library of the Caribbean. Thank you.